Hello everyone and welcome to another video of our short research series on how to become a competent researcher. My name is Mohammed Al-Haj and I'm the founder and director of Clean Energy for Africa. If you just joined in, this series basically is a number of short video recordings where I discuss a number of important skills that any person who wants to become a competent researcher in renewable energy needs to be aware of. One of the most important steps or phases when conducting any research project is to do a literature review. And this is usually one of the first steps that you need to take. Basically, a literature review is the process of reading and synthesizing the literature on whatever topic that you're interested in so that you can derive meaningful conclusions that will guide your research. So conducting a literature review is extremely important for several reasons. Firstly, it helps you understand the basics of whatever topic you're interested in, helps you understand what are the developments in the field, helps you understand who are the prominent researchers, what are the state-of-the-art developments, how research is conducted, right? That's why when I teach the module on, or my course on research skills, which I'm going to put a link for in the video description, I tell the students always that becoming a competent researcher is all about doing a very good literature review. If you do a very good literature review, then you will pretty much learn everything there is that you need to become a competent researcher. Now, to conduct a very good literature review, the first thing that you need to know is what are the reliable literature sources, right? If you are reading in the wrong sources or in unreliable sources, okay, then your literature review will not have much value. And in scientific research, we always want to conduct our literature review by depending on the most authentic and the most reliable sources, which is, we can talk about the classification of those sources in several ways. One way is to classify the literature sources by primary sources and secondary sources, whereby primary research or primary literature sources are basically sources such as scientific papers, reports from governments, reports from international organizations such as, for example, the International Renewable Energy Agency and so on. So basically these are the most authentic sources and the sources where you can get the data exactly from the person who actually owns the data. Then there is something called secondary sources, which are things like newspapers or maybe summaries of published research works, basically sources which have less credibility in terms of scientific rigor, and therefore you as a researcher should not rely much on them. It's also important to note that when you conduct a literature review, you need to make sure that you only or that you mostly refer to peer-reviewed sources. That means, for example, papers published in scientific journals. And that's because when a certain research paper has been peer-reviewed, that means reviewed by experts in the field, then the scientific rigor of that paper is more established. Hence, it becomes a reliable source that you can use in your literature review. When conducting a literature review, I always advise anyone who is starting new to spend a lot of time in the reading phase, right? Ideally, you want to read anything between 50 to 100 papers at least. This is, of course, for someone, let's say, who is doing their master's or doing their PhD. If you're doing your PhD, then you're probably going to read 200 papers or even more than that. Of course, the reading part is not actually that difficult, okay? Usually it's going to be the very first maybe 20 or 40, 50 papers that you may need to read completely from the beginning till the end. And in the beginning, you might find some difficulty in understanding the paper, understanding what methodologies this researcher is using, and this is absolutely fine. You need to go through this step so that you can become a competent researcher. But gradually, and as you read more and more papers and discuss with your advisors the things that you find difficult, you will find that you can easily skim through several papers without necessarily needing to read the whole paper. Okay, so this is a skill that you will develop through time, and it needs patience. Never ever, my advice always, never ever rush the literature review stage. Spend enough time on it, and surely that will guide you into identifying the real research gaps that your project should address and how you can complete this project in a satisfactory manner. Hope you found this video useful, and I will see you in another video, which will be discussing the topic of research methodology. And by the way, if you have missed the previous two episodes, I put a link for them in the video description. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.